Hello, I'm Dr. Lawrence W. Moore. This is my assistant Crafty. We are here with Lesson 2 of Series 2 of Learning Synthesis with Pure Data. This is the second lesson on LWM Rack, my modular system for building modular synthesizers in Pure Data. And in this episode, we are going to be looking at two new modules that I'm adding to our mix here. We have now a controller input module to go along with the MIDI input module that allows for 8 controller input signals. So that would be like 8 knobs or 8 sliders, which are common on controller keyboards. And also there's a MIDI tuning module that allows you to take MIDI notes and tune them, detune them by semitone, by octaves, and by cents, and then route that signal to your oscillators so that you can have a little bit more fine-tuned control over the tuning of your oscillators. If you haven't seen episode 1 or lesson 1 in this series yet, please do. So take a look at Series 2, Lesson 1. I'll show you that in a moment on the web page. And after you look at that, you'll be able to pick right up with this video. Now, if you're new to Pure Data in general, then you'll want to see my first series on learning synthesis with Pure Data. But I'll show you in just a minute because we're going to take a look at the website. Okay, folks, so here we are at the YouTube channel for Learning Synthesis with Pure Data, my LWM Music YouTube channel. The series is down here in Learning Synthesis with Pure Data, Series 01 to 02. Basically, both series are in here. They start off with Lesson 1 of Series 1, so if you haven't seen any of these videos before, this is where you want to start. Since I have my uploads list here, the most recent uploads appear here, and they happen to be like this one here, the first episode in Series 2. But if you want to look at a whole playlist, all you have to do is click on its name like that, and it takes you to the page where it shows you the whole playlist. And so you can see here's where Series 2 starts. So depending on when you see this video, there may be, who knows, we could be in Series 3 by then. I'm going to be doing that with my other series as well, like Sunday Night Synthesis is all going to be in one thing now when I start it up again. And my Pure Data patches are pretty soon going to be right up here. I'm going to rename this Learning Synthesis with Pure Data and Pure Data Patches. And that way they'll all be in one list here. I found out that basically YouTube gives you a limit as to how many of these things you can make, these horizontal playlists, and since I have other things that I want to do, I'm going to be keeping my playlists as compact as possible. But anyway, if you go to the website by either clicking the link here on the YouTube channel, LWM Music, or going to lwmmusic.com, once you click on the logo at the beginning, you get to here, the main web page, and Learning is where the series is kept. Learning Synthesis with Pure Data, Series 1 and 2, and of course Sunday Night Synthesis here, so everything's organized here on the website. This would be the place to, make sure you find the right video you're looking for. So I'm going to Series 2 here, since we are in Series 2, and you'll see this is Lesson 1. I've added a second link here, and I'm going to do that with these different episodes now. We're going to have one zip file on the top that's like the new modules I added for that lesson, all in a blank kind of state. I'll show you in a minute. And then we're also going to have the example that I make as a second download here. Okay, and of course you can view the video straight from the web page. But these are the downloads. So let me show you the two downloads for this lesson. This is Lesson 2, which is not appearing here because I'm recording it right now. But let me show that to you. Here we go. This is the blank folder. Well, hold on. Let me just close them. Close them and just start from the beginning. Lesson underscore 02. This is the blank folder, meaning this patch file, like in our lesson number 1, it's blank. And in your rack folder, here's all the modules. It's all the ones from before plus the new ones. And the new ones that we're going to look at today are MIDI Controller 8, Mono MIDI in Controller 8 right here. It has a module in patch bay, abstraction, and then we're going to look at MIDI to frequency module and patch bay. And of course we have the folders for them here, and these folders are empty because this is a blank one and this is the one you'll save now. You could basically delete your lesson 01 folder and replace it with this, or wherever you're saving things, save all your blanks together. Now that I've added some, I haven't changed the old ones, so you could easily just replace them. Now what I did to kind of save some time is to make an example for this episode. Since you've seen in example 1, or episode 1, lesson 1, how to use LWM rack, how to add modules, when you put them in you get that error at the first time and so forth. You've seen how to do that and how to manage the system. So I figured I might as well just make something for my demonstration explanation of the new modules, because that's what we're interested in. You don't need to be going back over old ground. If you feel still a little shaky on the system, view the first lesson video again. Okay, so here we go. You see no errors here because all these modules have already been made. Now this is the MIDI in basic module from lesson 1. Hasn't changed. It's module and patch bay hooked up to one another. And then I've run some patches from its patch bay to some other items here. This is a new module here, MIDI Controller 8. This gives you a visual display of the controllers that are coming in. It does receive input of continuous controller messages. And up here, these purple boxes where you define which controller number you want to bring in. It defaults to 21 through 28. Those are unassigned MIDI controller numbers, so they're clear and they won't interfere with anything else. If you use lower numbers like 11, that will overlap with expression. 10 would overlap with volume. 10 would overlap with pan. 7 would overlap with volume. 1 would overlap with mod. Pitch bend's its own separate thing. But here, 21 through 28, 31 through 38, 41 through 48, you could basically say which MIDI controllers these receive. And I know a lot of MIDI controller keyboards have like 8 knobs on them. And so you could assign those knobs here. A lot of times on your controller keyboard you can assign knobs, but additionally here, right in the software, you can assign your controller numbers here. Now let's see. I have a knob on my controller that is MIDI controller number 21. You see it's going up and down. And as with everything, let's go look in the rack folder here. And remember, all these have a folder for each module. MIDI in Controller 8. Here's A. This is labeled A, as you see from the black space here. Remember, when you make them, you type in the file name of the abstraction, and then a space, and then a name for it. And I'd like you to get in the habit of using like A or B, even though you can use any single word, basically something without spaces, to name it. I think A and B is the most logical. Use the alphabet. Now, let's find my mouse, dealing with that whole to display thing again. And so here is like saved parameters. These, I'm not sure which order they're in, but you see obviously the ones that are 0, 21, 68. So yeah, this is probably it. This means controller. The first slider is MIDI Controller 21, and its value is 68. The second one is MIDI Controller 22, its value is 0. 23, 0, 24, 0, and so forth. Now, the 0 that's saved here, I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I have error checked this thing and things are working. That might, in fact, be the channel number. I'm actually going to open this up right on the fly here and look at it, because I do have the channel set to 1. And it is working. It's receiving on channel 1. But let me just look at this, so you can see a little bit of the guts on the inside. I will have some episodes on how these are made, and basically how the design of each one is similar to one another, so that way, there's similarity between them. They work in a similar system and so forth. So I'm just opening up the stuff that's the saving mechanism. You don't need to worry about this just now, because if there's a problem, I'm going to fix it right now. Oh, I know what it is. I can see it right here, quite plainly. This needs to be renamed to MIDI channel. Send. Okay. I think I fixed it. And we're going to find out right now, because I'm going to type in, let's do 2. Let's type in channel 2 right here. My keyboard's inputs are on channel 1, but I'm just testing to make sure. There we go. Now it's writing to it 2. Before, when it said 0, I knew that couldn't be right, because the default is channel 1. Unless you set it to another channel. Like if your output channel on your keyboard is 2, you would set this to 2. But let's set it back to 1. And you'll notice one other thing about my MIDI modules. They have left inlets and outlets. This is so channel numbers can be sent from one to another. So if I decide I wanted to change my channel inputs, like I have a controller and it's sending on channel 2, if I change this to 2 here, in the top MIDI and basic, you see it changes it to 2 down here automatically, because they're connected here on the left side. Basically, I needed the inlets and outlets for the patch bays to be in the right corner, so I had to have something here, and rather than having a dummy, I basically made something that lets you send signals from one to another. And that happens all the way down through here. Let me just do that again. Let me type in 2. You see this one. This is the other new module of this episode. This is MIDI to frequency. It's a MIDI to frequency converter. Now you may ask, well, why do we have that? Last time we were able to patch straight from the MIDI patch bay into an oscillator right out of its frequency outlet here. Well, this is in case you want to do things a little differently. Remember our instrument last time, we went frequency straight into here in the oscillator's patch bay, and we were controlling the notes that the oscillators were playing with our MIDI notes. Fine, but what if you want to have two different oscillators and have a little more control over their tuning? Well, that's what the MIDI to frequency module's for. So now my MIDI note is going out into the note inlet of the MIDI to frequency module. And the same thing over here. This is just the second one. Notice it's named B, so its parameters get saved to a B file. And so the same note information is going into both. I also have the pitch bend going into both. I'm taking pitch bend out from the patch bay here. And let's see, PB is going there. And yes, this is pitch bend going here to this one. So note and pitch bend. And then on this one, note, pitch bend, and note. They're going to both of these MIDI to freq modules. There are no inlets and outlets hooked up as of yet from the controller 8. I'll do that in a minute. But by doing this, this module now allows me to control my frequency output. You see it has a frequency out here, and you could hook it up here to the oscillator. So now it's taking into consideration pitch bend and MIDI note, and right here is where it all happens. This is where the magic happens. So here, this is the channel it receives on. That I have here for the time being. It's not really being used at this point because this does not receive MIDI data from a channel. It actually receives MIDI data from your inlets over here. But in the future, if I want it to be able to receive some other MIDI information, I have its channel right here already built in. So this isn't really used right now for this module, but it's there in case for the future that I want it. So as I play notes, you can hear it's sine wavy, so let's put it on something that's a little bit more harmonically rich. 2 square waves. And I do have my ADSR down here, and I do have the combiner. Both of these we saw in the previous episode. The combiner is combining both of these at an equal strength, outputting it to the ADSR, and it's going out the audio output right there. So, and the shape of it, that amplitude shape, is here in this guy. You see I have its sustain level really down. That's why it sounds so more prominent on its attack. There, now it sounds a little bit cooler. I like that better. So anyway, now what we can do here, remember these VCOs do have octave displacement. They do have a built-in second oscillator, so you can thicken sound, create some harmony that way. But this doesn't give you as much precision as this would here. Let's say I want this oscillator to sound down an octave, so I put -1. And then, now that obviously could have been done with this too, although half of this oscillator, one of the two oscillators in here would be down an octave and the other one would be up. But now both of them are down an octave. Okay, and then if I want to switch one and go back up again, I can actually take this, and now we have. So you still do hear the lower octave, but it's less strength now because there's two oscillators here. One of them's doing the lower octave, one's doing the other octave, and these two are still on the normal octave of the note being played. I'm going to hit this, so that makes these two oscillators unison again. Now over here, this is where you definitely couldn't do things before. You could move down an octave, up an octave, and in between at the resolution of the slider. But let's say you want to be a semitone away, like a perfect fifth up. Let's type in a 7. Now this will be a perfect fifth higher than this oscillator over here. It just gives you a little more accuracy. With this slider, you might be able to find a fifth in there, and so forth on the single VCO itself. But this just gives you more possibilities. One thing I should note, in order to hook this up, I did turn off the pitch bend being calculated in the frequency out, although that wouldn't matter because the frequency out's not hooked up. Although, I don't know if I have it affecting MIDI note or not. I don't think so. But in any case, I turned it off because really the pitch bend, even though this will move up and down, it's just not calculating in the output up here. But it is coming out this PB out, so that's why that's hooked up to the patch bay of each of the MIDI to Freak modules, because then now it's stuttering for me here because I have a bunch of things running here. I'm recording audio, and I'm recording the screen, and I'm basically, and that's recorded a muted audio, or the audio out from here, not the microphone. And then I have the audio of the microphone being recorded, and PD's running in addition to that. So it stutters, but when I did this before, it did not stutter. So this bending of the pitch is stuttering now just because of all the things I have running at once. In any case, it does work. So you can also do, let's see, we have semitones. You can also do cents here. This is something where with this slider you wouldn't be able to get as much accuracy. Like here I already have it set to 10 cents, minus 10 cents here, plus 10 cents over here, so we get some detuning. Let me make it just 5 cents. Remember, cents are divisions of a semitone into 100 component parts, so it's like a percent. It's basically what percent of the way to the next pitch is this. So when I put in, trying to put in a minus 5, that means it's 5% bending down from the note being played down towards the next semitone below. And over here, same thing, 5% above the note being played toward the semitone above. I like to put the cents on either side equal numbers apart from one another. It creates a cool chorusing effect. To compare the sound, let me go to 0 here so that we hear everything unison. And that also sounds, less thick, less alive. Let's try minus 3, small values, and plus 3 here. So there you go. So that's what this is all about. And it basically shows you what the frequency result is from all your doings with the MIDI to Freak module. So now that we have that, you can use it or not use it depending on what kind of control you want to have over your oscillators. If you want to do some exact chorusing in cents or in semitones, then you'd want to use that. Otherwise, you could use the octave displacements on these things themselves. Now, I might as well use this controller here. There's 8 controllers, but I'm not going to use all of them. I'll just show you here. They are labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And then what I can do here is patch this down here to the combiner. And now my knob that I have up here that is transmitting on MIDI Controller 21 is going to control the combiner shifting of level from one side to another. Now what I'm going to do here though, I'm going to make this a different sound. Let's make this a sawtooth. Let's make this a sine. So that's the combo of the two of them. And now with my knob, I turned up the sawtooth that's all being done by patching that controller in right here. So obviously with what I'm doing here, I'm just showing you how the things work. There is a whole plethora of things you can do. Because you have the ability to hook this up to a whole bunch of things. Well, here's where you patch them. Patch these to anything orange and you'll get some results. I mean, it won't give you as good pitch bend resolution as pitch bend, so you wouldn't want to hook it up there. But you know, other things that are orange can be controlled, like here your phase. I'm going to use the second knob here, which is on MIDI controller number 22. I'm going to have that control, not phase. What was I thinking? PWM, pulse width modulation, which means I need to switch this VCO to a pulse wave. That's the third one. And so now when it's on that, let me get my keyboard slid out here so that I can reach these knobs. And now there, I'm using the first one to, now we're hearing all soft. Now some square with it. Which allows you to do some timbral changes and stuff. So you can hook those up the way you want. And then as I showed you last time I showed you how to make a sub patch, save your modules and stuff in it, and then move them around and make them look prettier. Like when you're done with your patching and stuff, you can move all your patch bays off to the side and just have your modules in the middle. But in the previous lesson I showed you also how to encase it in a sub patch so you don't have to see any patch cables and everything's nice and clean. So I'm not going to go through that again. I basically just needed to show you these two modules and what they can do and how they're used. So what the next lesson will entail will be filtering, because I think it's about time we add some filtering to our synth controls here. Okay, so anyway, now that I made that one little channel saving fix, which really wouldn't, I guess I never noticed that before because of the fact that I had these channels hooked up here, so this thing would always be on the right channel, although it wasn't due to the proper parameter being saved to file. Now that's fixed, so I'll save that. So yeah, you will definitely want to download these and add them to your LWM rack arsenal. But before we completely finish the lesson, I want to show you something. As some of you probably know, in addition to LWM music, I also, as an electroacoustic composer and husband, am working with my wife on the Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. Its page is psycheopera.com. And in order to raise some funds for our first concert, we're paying our performers above standard rate, and we are also making it a free concert. So we're doing some fundraising to make this all happen. And we're using the good old free market approach. If you go here to the auxiliary services here, well, first of all, you can click on any of these links and find out more about our productions and different things going on. But this is some of the auxiliary services that Psyche offers, and one of them is a store where my wife has been making, Liza Sahito is her name, she's been making these beautiful little eyes. You notice the symbol of Psyche Opera is the eye. And she's been making these little eyes, handmade, these eye necklaces. And so you can see them here. Basically, there's pictures of the exact one. Each one is unique because they're handmade by her using colors of the zodiac. So you can see like the front of it here, the back of it here, and here's the case it comes with, a nice little box. And they're $14.50 each, which is not bad if you think about it. It's actually what you would pay for a necklace. So, but it still helps fund our opera company. So if you're interested in any of these, there's a promo that I'm going to announce for LWM Music viewers. And we're going to do that next because Crafty is going to talk about it. Well, he's not going to talk about it. I'm going to talk for him. He mostly sits there and thinks. Okay, well, I hope you found that interesting. You noticed earlier I mentioned something about the Psyche Opera Company in the lesson. Well, I don't know if you've been noticing, but Crafty here has been sporting his eye necklace from the Psyche Opera Company. The Psyche Opera Company, as I said before, is managed by my wife Liza, and she and I are basically, building our own electroacoustic and multimedia opera company that will be performing on stage with lighting, video, electronic music, as well as real instruments and real opera singing, and putting it all together into some new modern amalgamation of sight and sound. And in the fundraising, we're basically using the good old free market approach. So if you're interested in having one of these cool eye necklaces, there is a promo code for LWM Music viewers. Those of you that like to come to the channel and view my videos, there's a special promo code for us. It's simply LWM Music. Doesn't matter if it's uppercase or lowercase, just LWM Music, one word. That's the promo code, and it'll take 5% off of your order. Doesn't matter how many things you order at once, it's 5% off your total at checkout. So I hope you enjoy that little perk, and we'll see you next time for lesson 3.